Hey guys, Matt from RPM here. Doesn't get quiet around here often, but when it does, we figured we should take the opportunity to fill you guys in on what we're working on here. The first one we're going to touch base with you guys on, this has been taking up a lot of our time here, is the Grand Wagoneer for wakesurfer.com. And if none of you have heard of wakesurfer.com, visit their website and check out who they are. They're kind of the resource nationwide right now for anything involving wake surfing. And if you haven't heard of wake surfing, do your research on it. It's pretty awesome. So they've trusted us to basically do a restoration and more of a resto mod on this Grand Wagoneer. And for those of you who aren't familiar with the Grand Wagoneers, they were kind of the first luxury SUV that hit the market from Chrysler, and they were kind of boring, but really, really cool platform. I mean, big four-wheel drive, heavy monster, and they've allowed us to kind of turn this into basically, you know, everything they've wanted in a tow vehicle and a luxury vehicle and a marketing piece, and we'll touch base on some of the details on that. So the idea behind this Grand Wagoneer is we had a pretty tall glass of water to gulp down with it, but they wanted something that was going to stand out. It was going to be really West Coast and have that surfer vibe to it. But also be really functional. It had to tow a huge boat. And so what we decided to do is, these Grand Wagoneers came originally with an AMC 360 in them, and it was during the smog era of engines, and that poor little AMC was choked down to, I think, 150 horse and like 280 foot-pounds of torque. And if we're going to be towing a sizable wake boat, we had to have a lot of horsepower behind it and a lot of transmission too. So what we decided to do was we got a 5.3 liter out of a Tahoe, and it kind of exploded from there. I mean, obviously the LS platforms are phenomenal, they're reliable, parts are relatively inexpensive, and you can really do some neat things with them. And what we decided to do, because we want the horsepower figures to be in the 600s, and it's backed by a 6L80 transmission, we put a single turbo on it. And the turbo we selected is a really small turbine, so it spools at super low RPM, giving you a ton of low-end grunt. I mean, there's nothing you can put behind this vehicle it's not going to tow. And especially with the Dana axles in it and the driveline we're putting behind it, there'll be literally nothing that this vehicle won't pull, which is exactly what they needed. And then on top of it, like touching base with it, is we kind of had to keep that West Coast surf vibe to it. And the wood grain, you know, SUV, you picture, you know, a roof rack with surfboards on it is exactly what we're shooting for with this. So everything we're putting into this is going to be all modern. Everything about it's going to be 100% something you can find in a 2017 or 18 vehicle off the show floor. All the modern day accommodations. Like I said, there's really nothing this vehicle's not going to do. You know, our biggest thing is we can have all the horsepower in the world and have the, you know, fastest car on the street, but if there's no reliability to it, what's the point? And we're going with a modern FI Tech Ultimate LS fuel injection system on it. Every time the guys at Wake Surfer turn the key on this, it's going to start, it's going to be reliable. And that's key for us here, is I want to have something that's not going to break down at a show of theirs or a show of ours and leave us embarrassed. So keeping reliability on the forefront is absolutely paramount with this, and I think we've got it. So the 5.3, we reworked it. I mean, the heads are pretty much stock. They're great platforms. We de-stroked it down, put lower compression pistons in it to accommodate for higher boost levels. We should be able to conservatively run anywhere between 14 to 21 pounds of boost, just depending on the drivability we want. So like I said, mid sixes for the horsepower figures, while keeping, you know, pump gas completely streetable. Nothing about this is going to be scary at all for them to use and drive. So the 6L80 is going to be reworked for towing, not so much performance, but when you build a heavy duty transmission to tow a big load, it can also handle a lot of horsepower and a lot of speed. So it'll be really interesting to see this one ripping around the street. It's going to be lifted approximately over 6 inches. We could go bigger. There's a lot of, you know, lift kits out there, but we chose the Tough Country 4-inch lift on it, and then we're going to do an additional 2-inch body lift, and that should give it the height we're looking for. It should be still, you can step into it without stumbling, but enough clearance for 35-inch tires. Again, the axles on it, those have been reworked. They're going to be bulletproof. We want to be able to mash the gas on this at any speed in any scenario and not have to worry about the drive line. So it'll be pretty neat to see it go. And next year we're going to be bringing it to a lot of the events. We want to bring it down a drag strip, see how big 6,000 pound Grand Wagoneer does down a quarter mile. That should be really interesting to see. From all the research we've done, guys are swapping small block Chevys into these all the time, but I don't think I've ever seen one that's got a turbocharged LS in it. So it's kind of a first to happen, and it'll be really interesting to see the outcome. Making a small block or a LS engine turbocharged and having it be reliable is probably one of the biggest challenges of this, but the theory behind what we did was we oversized everything, made the wastegates able to handle 1,000 horsepower, the blow-off valves matching that, and having the exhaust be made out of really overbuilt stainless steel or regular steel. That's kind of the route we went with it. And I'm a huge fan of turbochargers. They're efficient, you can pick them up relatively cheap now, and being able to have this one be turbocharged is the best option for us. We're going to do a air-to-water intercooler on it, and strictly for the reason of consistency and reliability. The guys at Wake Surfer, I never want them to have to worry about exhaust gas temperatures or air intake temperatures. I want it to be consistent. And we found a really streamlined air-to-water intercooler system that can handle up to 800 horse. We're going to be below that. So again, we're overbuilding and not pushing it to its limit, and that should make for a really reliable setup. And on top of that, this vehicle is going to see a lot of winter use, and the system we have is completely capable with to run antifreeze in it, and you won't really ever have to worry about it. It's going to be a sealed system, and the maintenance on it should be minimal. We're going to liquid cool the wastegates, so we don't have to worry about those overheating, sticking shut, causing any damage, things like that. We're going to be running a methanol system that's hooked up to an exhaust gas temperature sensor. So if our exhaust gases start to get too high and the guys at Wake Surfer are using it or towing it, we're not shooting for horsepower with that methanol kit. It's strictly a reliability thing. So we don't destroy an engine or anything like that. So it'll be neat to see it run.